going up. So we'll give it a couple more seconds while everyone gets in. All right, that looks good. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for being here on a Monday night. I appreciate it. I am Felicia Ross, your manager of member engagement and chapter support. We're here to talk about some entry-level Excel skills. This is going to be important. We're going to see some reports that you have used from Impact, but this is everything we talk about will be transferable to reports generated by our new AMS IMS. So I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. All right, so just some basic housekeeping notes. This is our second short takes video. The first one on Google Forms was recorded and is available on our website. Please let me know if you have trouble finding it. This presentation will be recorded. The slides will be available. Please hold your questions to the end. We do try to keep these to a half-hour long. So if we do have extra time, I will go over any member questions, but you can always reach me at pross@agohq.org, or my extension is 4321. And I'm always happy to sit down with any chapter leaders who are having issues with their reports, and we can straighten them on out. All right, the very last bit of housekeeping, I am going to remind everyone to update your officer roster if you had elections this year. Just please get that up to date, and that way everyone gets the notifications they're supposed to, and everyone will be getting their information that we need to migrate over to IMAS. So please make sure your officer rosters are up to date. And now let's get on over to Excel. So the things we're going to cover today, we're going to cover navigation around an Excel spreadsheet. We're going to cover how do you change cell size, how to sort and filter data, and by request, we're going to cover printing and saving Excel files as PDFs that are actually nice to look at. So the very first thing to know is that Excel changes the locations of things with every version. Sometimes it's a little bit of a change, sometimes it's a lot. So if you do not see what I'm talking about, this might be because you have a different version of Excel. How do you tell what version of Excel you have? When you first open up Excel, down here, you're going to see something that says account. And then once you click on account, it will show you what product you have. And as you can see here, I have Microsoft 365 apps for business. That's the version of Excel we're dealing with. If you've got Microsoft 365, the regular home version, everything is pretty much the same exact thing there. If you're using an older version of Excel, again, you might have things in some different locations, just something to be aware of. All right, navigation through an Excel file. So one of the most frequently asked questions by my chapter officers is how to navigate between different sheets on an Excel file when I send out that email report showing the members who will be canceled. Each chapter is on a different tab. As you can see here, I've got chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, with a big old list here. To scroll through that list, you're going to use these teeny weeny little arrows that are on the bottom left corner, and we will go take a look at these in an actual Excel file. I just wanted to show it blown up here because these are very small. If you see the tab you want with a name, you can just click on it and it'll take you right to it. But if you need to scroll through a list, you need to use these arrows here. So let's go take a look at an Excel file and we'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. So you see here, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. You just want to go to them, you're going to click and it'll take you right there. I put in some fake data here to protect our members' privacy. As you can see, I added a whole bunch of different sheets just so you can see. Down here, you click and it scrolls. And you can scroll back. And now if you really, there's also 3 tiny little dots over here, which will push it forward a little bit, but you're probably going to want to use the arrows for ease of navigation. Those work a little bit faster. All right, so now we know how to click between tabs. The Excel file that I send out will always open up with the tab that I was like last on. So sometimes it may be, you know, you might be a tab sheet 8 might be the one that is selected, and you'll have to go back to the left to get to that very first chapter. If you're earlier in the alphabet, I do send them out in alphabetical order by chapter name, by region. Okay, so that is a little bit of basic navigation there. Another bit of navigation that is useful to know, we'll just talk about what is on the ribbon here, this strip of beneath like your file, home, and insert. This strip is called a ribbon. I'm working with the default settings. You may have customized your options, but most of what you need to do is already sitting out here as buttons for you to click on. We have our copy and paste and cut over here on the far left, which you're probably already familiar with, to cut and paste. And there's your moving your information around, or you could copy and paste and it's back. You can also use this by right clicking. That's all I did here. I highlighted the cell I wanted and I right clicked and I got many, many menus. You have your cut and paste on top. All right, next little box over here, we have things that change your font selection and your size. Maybe the fonts I send things out in are a bit too small for you. Maybe you want it blown up a little bit. You can just click the big A to make it bigger, or the small A to make it smaller. And you can always just change by number to get nice, big, chunky font if you need that to make it a bit more readable. Moving over to the right over here, we have buttons that change the orientation of the data in the cell. We're going to select her middle name here, but as we can see, this first one here, we'll move it to the top of the cell, which will be easier to see when it's a little bit bigger. Top, bottom, top, bottom, center, left, right, left, center. So you have those options to make things a little bit more pleasing to look at. All right, moving right along, we're going to skip over some of the more advanced features, and we will, we're going to use a different spreadsheet to take a look at sorting and filtering. So let's close this and let's get back to my slideshow here, because there we go. All right, the next thing we're going to look at is changing cell size, and we want to know how to do this because sometimes those the default cell size that it comes out will show if the cell is not big enough, the cell will be filled with pound signs or hashtags, depending on how old you are, what you'll call those, and you may need to change the size of your cell to get the correct, to be able to see. There you go. So here we go. We can see we have pound signs or hashtags in here. How do we make that bigger? Let's go look at our sample member roster, which I'm opening up. There we go. Sample member roster. As you can see over here, we've got our little pound signs and our hashtags. Now we need to make these. This doesn't mean something went wrong. This just means the cell is not big enough. So easiest way to make the cells bigger, and because these are all in one row, all I need to do is hover between these two columns here, and I'm going to, once I get this little icon that is a line with two arrows through it, we can go take a look at what that looks like here. This is a big picture of it. It's a bit hard to see in the Excel file, but this is what you're looking for when you hover between the columns and then double click, and it will expand to fill the largest bit of information here. So let's do that one more time, and over our next build date, double click, and then now you can see all the data that is in those rows or columns. Oops. All right, so next thing we're going to go over in our sample roster here is how to sort and filter. Now, the sorting and filtering are really, really crucial tools to know if you're doing things with the information that you have. So the very first thing we're going to do, we're going to sort this list alphabetically just to see how that looks. I'm going to go to our last name column here. I'm going to highlight the whole column. I'm going to hit sort and filter. I'm going to hit sort A to Z. Then it's going to say it found data next to your selection. What this means is if I were to say cancel here, it would only sort the information that is in this column. It wouldn't take like the name and organize that too. So we always want to expand the selection. So we're going to hit sort, and then we can see we now have everything alphabetized by last name. All the data next to it moved with it when we did hit that sort. So that default sort functions are A to Z or Z to A. And just because it says A to Z doesn't mean it won't do numbers. It just high to low or low to high. All of that works. Yeah, that can come in handy in a couple different places when you need to put people's information in order. The next thing we're going to look at are filters. Now, filtering lets you find different types of information out of a larger list. So I'm going to click in the row that I want to set up these filters. So I want the first row are all my headers. So I'm going to click on the one here to select that whole first row. I'm going to go to my sort and filter, and I'm going to hit filter. And now you see all these little arrows, down arrows popped up on the top of each of my headers here. And what this can let me do is I'm going to click on the dues description column. That's going to show me people's membership types. And the default will be to select all. And here's just a list of the 3 types that are on this list. Now, if I want to unselect all and just take a look at the chapter friend. Now I just see the one chapter friend that was on the list. Here, let's make that bigger so you can see it. Now, if I wanted to just see the regular and special members, I can select both, and they both pop up here. So now you just have a selection. And you can copy and paste. Now, let's say you wanted to look up all your members who live in a specific town. Well, you can set up a filter, set it to just that town, and then you can copy and paste out of it to just get a list of the members from that town. So right here, let's say we just want a list of the special members. We just have our 2 folks here. And now I can just copy those 2. And you'll see I'm going to stick them on a second sheet so we can just see how those paste. There we go. And now we just have the 2 special members that we wanted from our list. Go back to the main page. Let's see, filtering works with numbers too. Let's see. Oh, another thing that I find a lot of our chapter officers either don't know or aren't sure why that happens on the report. Under chapter name, if the chapter name is your chapter, that would be the primary chapter of that member. If the chapter name is a different chapter, that means they have your chapter as a dual chapter. That's something that comes up as a question pretty often. Good thing to know. Let's see, other useful information about sorting and filtering. Let me turn these filters off for a second. We'll start from scratch here. There you go. All right, so now we see we have all of our data again. Now, maybe you want to search for multiple criteria at once. Easy way to do that is also under sort and filter. We're going to do custom sort. It can only be applied to selected range. So let's select our whole range. So I've been doing Excel since, let's say 1998. I know a lot of things by keyboard shortcuts. So just hitting 2 buttons on the keyboard. Part of the reason I do that is because they move things. So what I do is I memorize the keyboard shortcut and then I don't have to learn otherwise, but maybe that's not something you want to do. Maybe it is, but to select all the data, I hit Control A. That highlights everything. So we're going to keep that, and now we're going to go to our custom sort. So when you do a custom sort, you are sorting by multiple criteria at once. So let's say I wanted to sort by all the dues descriptions. We're going to keep them in alphabetical order. So this will group my dues descriptions together and by alphabetical order. So I'm going to get the chapter friends, I'll get the regular member, and then I'll get the 2 special members. But then let's say I want their last names alphabetized. Let's say I have a huge list. So I'm going to sort by last name as well, cell values A to Z. And what you'll see here is everything will move, sorting by these 2 different types of criteria. There we go. All right, so we've got the chapter friend first, our regular member, our 2 special members are alphabetized. Okay, So that is custom sorts. You can add quite a few criteria. Let's see how many. Yeah, you can just keep going. So you've got a lot of options, just as many as fields as we've got here. You can custom sort by. The next bit of useful, nice useful tool that we can do is the find feature. Now, let's say you have a big long list and you're looking for someone specific and you want to do it through your member roster as an Excel file. So we're going to go to the find button here. You'll see that with the magnifying glass. And we'll hit find. Control F will also get you there for those of you who want to use keyboard shortcuts. Now let's say we have this huge long list. We don't know. Let's say we don't know what Jill's address is, and we want to find Jill on this list. So we're going to type in Jill, and it's going to search for every person named Jill on this list. And there we go. We see the first time Jill appears, it's in the member name column. Then we go to the next one. The second time it appears is in her first name column. And this is handy whenever you're looking for anything. You do need to type it in exactly. If there is information that you know is on an Excel spreadsheet, but somehow it's not picking it up with this find and replace feature, try it with a space before it. This is not going to find anything because, oh, it did find it with the space in front. Oh, it just found this one. Yep. So here in the member name column, it's MS period space Jill. That's why it's pulling this space Jill here. But you know, if something is not there that you really think it should be, try putting a space before it, try putting a space after it. Maybe that's why it's you know, not coming up for you. All right, that is sorting and filtering and custom source find and replace. Another thing that is sometimes easy you might need to use is this find and replace. What replace will do will take whatever word you have searched and change it to whatever you tell it to replace it with. So I don't know, let's say Jill got married and changed her name to Clark. Or Jill was getting married, was changing her name from Clark to Smith. So we can change it here. So it will find every single instance of Clark and replace it with Smith. Again, use the replace all with caution because it won't show you everything that it's replacing. But if you know you've got a few things in a row, you can do like find next and then say, okay, replace. And then, okay, we know we want to replace it there too. So we'll hit replace there. And now we've got it there. It also works for like multiple things at a time. So let's see. Yeah. I'll show you how it works with special. Let's say, and this is just using data to play around with, but any instance where you have multiple things that you would like to replace with something else, this will work. Let's say we replace special with very special. Replace all, and you can see they both switched. Right away, it tells you you made two. It won't show you exactly where those two are, but since we're using a small data set here, we can see where that happens. All right, so we'll hit OK. We are cruising right along here. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is printing and saving as a PDF. I know a lot of people do like to keep everything on paper or back things up with paper or just make more printable versions of things. So let's talk about how to make this pleasing for a printer. So one of the easiest spots to make the changes you need is to go to the page layout tab. And whenever you're printing an Excel spreadsheet, chances are you want to print this landscape so more of it fits on the page. So you're going to switch the orientation here to landscape. And you'll see one of the things it did here was popped up these dotted lines. That actually tells me where the page breaks are. We can take a look at that. Let's see. View. There we go. So on the view tab, this will also break this into different pages. You can hit page break view and it'll show you here's where it's going to cut off. Here's where it's going to cut off. So this will print on 3 pages. Maybe that's not something you want to do. The other way to look at it is page layout. This is a little bit easier to look at. and it allows you to add headers to what you're printing. Maybe you'll want to do that. And as you can see, Excel files are really made to be looked at on a computer and scrolled across. It would be pretty unpleasant to have to tape a bunch of pages together and follow the line. If you do want to print things out like this, I would recommend copying either the status ID or like the first and last name and putting those on each page, so it's easier to keep track of if you have a multi-page Excel file that you want to print. So that covers printing, and you'll file print here just as if you were printing anything else. It will ask you if you want to print only the active sheets, or if you have a spreadsheet or you have a file that you've been working on for a long time, you have locked pages, probably not most of you can opt to not print those. All right, so this will send it on over to your printer. But the next thing that I was requested to cover were saving as a PDF. So you can do that in a couple different ways. You can just go to your Save As spot here and change your file type to PDF. That's all the way down here. And then you can just hit save, or you can hit export and it will create a PDF/XPS in case if you've ever been asked for an XPS, probably not. Most people are still more comfortable with a PDF, but this is another spot where you can save that Excel spreadsheet as a PDF. All right, so that covers all of what I was planning on tonight, and we are 8 minutes early. So if anyone has any questions, please drop them in the box, and we will get to them. All right, thanks so much for hanging in here with me. Ooh, no questions. Am I that good? I don't think I'm that good. But if if anything comes up later, you can always reach out to me. Let me put up. Oh, we have raised hands. There we go. All right, Stephen Allen, I'm going to allow you to talk and you can ask your question. Or maybe you didn't have a question, you just raised your hands and you weren't sure what you wanted. I can take you off if you don't have a question for us, Stephen.
I think he needs to unmute himself, Felicia.
Yeah. Oh, yep, you got to unmute.
I did type it in, but to show how you highlight the blocks, how you can, because if you print it out, I think just as you've shown it, there are no lines.
Oh, so you want like borders between your cells?
Borders,
so
thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Sure, let me share my screen and we'll get over to that.
That makes it so much easier to read.
Absolutely, great. So let's get on over to borders. Let's go back to our normal view here. Borders you can find on your home tab. Where did they go? That's this little box. And if you click on, so let's highlight the whole thing. And let's say I want borders all the way around. I'm going to click all borders, and that'll just give you the lines there. It also gives you the option, just do bottom, just do top, left, right, thick, thin. If you need to freestyle, you can, get a little pencil tool and draw a border. And you can do it in different colors if you need to mark things up for any particular reason. Great. Did that cover it, Stephen?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I knew how to do that. I didn't know the special thing. That was cool.
Great. Felicia, we have a question. How do you show hide columns?
Show or hide columns, sure. I'll just leave this up here. Okay, so easiest way to show and hide columns. You're going to click on the column. So it's highlighted. Then you'll right click on it. And then you have hide and unhide. So we're going to hide this column. And the way you'll know that there's a column hidden is you have there's like a little, I don't want to call it a tab, but you can see there's like a little bit of a line, like a thicker gray line in the middle there that'll show you that something's hidden. You can double click. And there we go. That brings it back. But you can also highlight over it, and then that will unhide everything. And you can hide multiple columns at once. Hide, And you just see we've got that little nub here. They don't change in thickness. You know, it looks the same no matter how many you have hidden. Unhide. There we go.
Here's a good question. Are Google Sheets Excel like regular Excel sheets?
Oh, Google Sheets. So Google Sheets are very, very similar. They work in a very, very similar way. Google has done a lot to be compatible with Excel. A lot of the tools will be called the same exact thing. Most things will be compatible between the two, but they're two different programs that do the same thing. They're Coke and Pepsi. So very similar, but not exactly the same.
Karen Billings has asked, is there some way to format the data in a different way?
Let's see, what do you mean by format? So we can change like colors and fonts and sizes. But I would say if you're in this class, moving data around might be a bit advanced for you. Especially if you're wanting to, like, let's say, make a directory out of an Excel spreadsheet. That's going to be a lot harder to get, let's say, your name and your address displaying on two different lines properly. But maybe Karen, if you have a little more details, I can better assist. Highlight blocks or Google Sheet. Yeah, Karen, if you have any further information, throw that in the question box and I will get to you. All right, next question I see in my
Jeff Hoover
here.
has asked, does AGO HQ provide Excel templates for the reports that HQ wants?
Do we provide Excel templates? No, currently the way Impact works is it just spits out everything at you. The future of IMIS it'll be a bit more controlled. We'll have different reports that present different fields. But no, we don't currently have templates for reports we take. And I would say the only reports we really want are your financial report at the end of the year, which you should send in if you have not done so, as well as your chapter's operating procedures. Let me plug that in. AGO HQ would be happy to back up your data if we have it. I've had 4 or 5 chapter officers this year contact me saying their chapter has lost their operating procedures and I couldn't help them because we don't have them on file. So get those in if you've got them. Thanks so much. Let's see, next question, how to make lines on the printout sheet. I think that means borders. If the anonymous, if that didn't cover it, please put your question in again and we'll get back.
Bruce Stephen has asked, there are 2 different Excel files currently available from OnCard. The one with the name prefix in a separate column and the one with the name prefix with the name. Mm-hmm. I use the first one to interact with a custom word merge file to make a chapter directory. Will the first one still be available?
Yeah, I don't see us getting rid of like the salutation line 1 fields because we use it in Office too. So that will definitely still be available. All right.
Karen's asked again, will we have the option to create a roster like we get today?
So the difference with IMIS is going to be that you guys don't create the reports yourself. You're just sent the reports. So you will get a roster on a regular time basis that has yet to be determined. But you will not make them up yourself. You'll just get the file from headquarters.
And Douglas has asked for one we all know the answer to. Have you planned future webinars for IMIS?
Oh, when we have information, we will absolutely be releasing it. And once we have more data to play with in the system and more of the system set up, we will certainly be hosting webinars and trainings for chapter leaders.
When will OnCard be phased out? Well, we hope so by, what do we want to say, a couple of months from now? 3 or 4 months from now? Yeah, its demise is imminent. Let's say that. It's on life support. We're working quite hard to get it phased out. There will be plenty of notification to retrieve any data that you want to retrieve from OnCard, as well as our backups at HQ. Okay. Do I want a test case for IMIS?
We are looking for chapter officers to beta test. And Karen, I will absolutely put you on that list if you're interested. If you would like to beta test IMS, you can always send me an email, let me know that you're interested, and we can put you on the list. All right. Anybody else? Did I miss any, Elizabeth, or how am I doing?
I don't
there?
think you did. I think you,
No?
I think you did answer them, and bravo, because not for nothing, I learned some new things here tonight. And I
Good,
thought I
good.
knew
Well, we are
everything
at.
about Excel.
Oh.
Yeah, I love it. She's a great teacher. She really is a great teacher.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We're at 7:30, so thanks so much for sticking with me tonight. If you have any questions about Excel or Google Forms or anything else AGO or chapter support related, you can find me pross@agohq.org. I'm extension 4321, or you can just call the main line and get me. All right, thank you so much for being here.